Have you ever felt different? Like you were meant for something more, something beyond the ordinary? Like you were born for something special, a purpose that only you could fulfill? Samson knew that feeling. His story is in the Bible, in the book of Judges, a tale that has been told for generations. He was a judge, a leader chosen by God to rescue his people, the Israelites, from their enemies, the Philistines. His mission was clear, but his journey was anything but simple. Samson's story is full of adventure, strength, and mistakes. It's a tale of incredible feats and human frailty, of divine purpose and personal failure. He was incredibly strong, gifted with physical power beyond imagination. But he also made some bad choices that led to his downfall. Yet, despite his flaws, God used him in amazing ways. Samson's life was a testament to the fact that divine plans can work through imperfect people. Samson teaches us that God can use anyone, even those who mess up. His story is a powerful reminder that redemption is always possible. He reminds us that God keeps his promises even when we don't deserve it. His life is a symbol of God's unwavering faithfulness. His story is a story for all of us, a story of hope and second chances. It's a narrative that speaks to the heart of human experience, of falling and rising again. So let's journey back in time to the land of Israel and meet this extraordinary man, Samson. Let's walk the paths he walked and see the world through his eyes. Let's learn from his triumphs and his tragedies and discover how God's love can shine even in the darkest of times. Samson's story is not just a tale of the past, but a lesson for the present, a beacon of hope for the future. Samson's story begins with a miracle. His parents couldn't have children. Then an angel appeared to Samson's mother.
The angel said I would have a son. This son would be special. He would begin to free the Israelites from the Philistines. The angel told me that my son would be a Nazirite. This was a special vow. Nazirites couldn't cut their hair. They couldn't drink wine. They were dedicated to God. This vow gave Samson great strength. It was a symbol of his commitment to God.
Samson grew up knowing he was different. He was set apart for God's purpose. He had a destiny to fulfill. The vow was a constant reminder of this special calling. One day, Samson was walking to the land of the Philistines. He met a lion. The lion roared and attacked, but Samson was fearless.
I grabbed the lion with my bare hands and killed it. The Spirit of the Lord gave me incredible strength.
Later, Samson returned to the same spot. He saw a beehive in the lion's carcass. He ate some of the honey. It was sweet and delicious. This event foreshadowed the mixture of danger and sweetness in Samson's life. Samson's life was full of such amazing feats. He was a man of extraordinary physical power. But his strength was not just physical. It came from his special connection with God. This connection was both his greatest asset and his greatest vulnerability. The Philistines were cruel enemies. They oppressed the Israelites. Samson hated this injustice. He wanted to free his people.
I used my strength to fight back against the Philistines. One time, I set fire to the Philistines' crops. I used torches tied to the tails of foxes.
The Philistines were furious. They retaliated.
Samson's anger and desire for revenge grew. He responded with even greater force.
Samson's actions escalated the conflict. He became a symbol of resistance for the Israelites, but his methods were often driven by anger and vengeance. He was a flawed hero, capable of both great good and destructive actions. Section 5, The Riddle and the Revenge.
I fell in love with a Philistine woman. She was unlike anyone I had ever met, and I was captivated by her beauty and grace.
This angered the Philistines. They couldn't understand why one of their own would be with an outsider, especially someone like Samson. They saw it as a betrayal. To them, it was a direct affront to their community and their values. At their wedding feast, Samson told a riddle. It was a test of wit and intelligence, meant to entertain but also to challenge.
I promised 30 linen garments and 30 sets of clothes to anyone who can solve it. It was a grand gesture meant to show my confidence and to engage the guests.
The Philistines threatened Samson's wife. They were desperate to solve the riddle and win the prize. They forced her to get the answer from him. She was caught between her loyalty to her people and her love for Samson. Samson was furious when he found out. He felt betrayed by the very people he had tried to embrace.
I killed 30 Philistine men and gave their clothes to those who had solved the riddle. It was an act of rage and retribution.
He left his wife in anger. The betrayal cut deep, and he couldn't bear to stay. Samson's actions sparked even greater conflict. The tension between the Philistines and Samson's people grew more intense. His love for the Philistine woman had turned into bitterness and anger. What once was a source of joy became a source of pain. He was trapped in a cycle of revenge. Each act of violence led to another, with no end in sight. He was losing sight of his calling to be a leader for his people. His personal vendettas overshadowed his greater purpose. His actions were driven by personal vendettas, not God's will. The path he was on was leading him further away from his true destiny. Section 6. Love and Betrayal. This chapter delves into the complex emotions and intricate relationships that define human nature. Later, Samson fell in love again. His heart, still yearning for connection, found solace in the eyes of another. This time it was with a woman named Delilah. She captivated him with her charm and beauty. Delilah was beautiful and cunning, her allure was undeniable, and her intentions, though hidden, were far from pure.
Samson, tell me the secret of your strength. Her voice was soft, yet insistent, a blend of curiosity and hidden motives.
The Philistine rulers bribed her. They saw an opportunity in her relationship with Samson. They wanted her to discover the secret of Samson's strength. Their plan was meticulous, their intentions clear. Delilah pretended to love Samson. Her affection was a facade, a means to an end. She begged him to tell her his secret. Her persistence was relentless, her determination unwavering.
Please, Samson, won't you tell me? Her pleas were filled with a mix of desperation and deceit.
At first, Samson refused, but Delilah was persistent. She knew how to wear him down, how to play on his emotions. She wore him down with her constant pleas. Finally, Samson gave in. His resolve crumbled under the weight of her persistence.
All right, Delilah, I will tell you. His voice was heavy with resignation, his heart torn between love and caution.
Samson's love for Delilah blinded him to her true intentions. He was ensnared by his own emotions, unable to see the danger lurking beneath her beauty. He was betrayed by the woman he loved. Her betrayal was a dagger to his heart, a cruel twist of fate. His desire for love and companionship led him to make a fatal mistake. In his quest for connection, he overlooked the signs of deceit. His story is a reminder that even the strongest among us have weaknesses. It is a tale of vulnerability, of how love can be both a strength and a weakness. We are all vulnerable to temptation and betrayal. It is a part of the human experience, a lesson in trust and caution.
No razor has ever been used on my head because I have been a Nazirite dedicated to God from my mother's womb. If my head was shaved, my strength would leave me, and I would become as weak as any other man.
Samson told Delilah his secret. Delilah waited until Samson was asleep. She called for a man to shave off his hair. When Samson woke up, he felt different. His strength was gone. The Philistines captured him. They gouged out his eyes and threw him in prison. Samson's downfall was swift and brutal. He had broken his vow to God. He had given in to temptation. His once great strength had vanished. He was a shadow of his former self, defeated and humiliated. The Philistines rejoiced at Samson's capture. They held a great festival to celebrate their victory. They brought Samson out of prison. They wanted to mock him. They forced him to grind grain like a slave. Samson was chained and blinded. He was forced to perform menial labor. He was a spectacle for his enemies. His life had become a cruel joke. Samson's story is a stark reminder of the consequences of sin. His disobedience had cost him dearly. He had lost his freedom, his strength, and his dignity. He was a prisoner of his own mistakes. As Samson ground the grain, he remembered his calling. He cried out to God.
Lord, please, give me strength one last time. Let me avenge the Philistines for my 2 eyes.
God heard Samson's prayer. He knew Samson's heart. He knew Samson was sorry. God forgave him. He gave Samson the strength he needed. Samson was ready for one final act of defiance. Samson's prayer was not just a plea for revenge, it was a cry for justice. He wanted to punish the Philistines for their cruelty to him and his people. He wanted to deliver a final blow against their oppression. His act of vengeance, though brutal, was aimed at ending the cycle of violence. The Philistines gathered in their temple. They were celebrating their false god Dagon. They brought Samson out to entertain them. They thought he was helpless. They were wrong. Samson stood between the two central pillars of the temple.
Let me die with the Philistines.
He pushed with all his might. The pillars crumbled. The temple collapsed. Samson died along with his enemies. He had fulfilled his destiny. In his final act, Samson found redemption. He embraced his fate. He used his remaining strength to strike a blow for his people. His story teaches us that even in our weakest moments, God can still use us for his glory. Samson's story is a reminder that God's love and forgiveness are available to all who seek it.